What's up guys, Boss here, and in today's video we're going to be doing something different. So as you guys can see, we are actually on Twitter right now, and this is the first time I have ever done something like this, so you guys can give me feedback on if you like this style of video where maybe instead of doing it how I'm doing it now, where basically I'm going to be reviewing 10 tips that a professional Clash Royale player has given on Twitter. This guy does not have a YouTube, so I figured I would pull the tips he gave from Twitter a couple months ago and look at the numbers this tweet did. Just so you guys know, Clash Royale tweets do not typically get these kinds of interactions. Over 3,000 likes and over 300 retweets. I mean, that's about the amount you'd expect when you finish #1 on ladder. So these are some really high quality tips that people on Twitter really appreciated them, and as you guys know, a lot of my videos I try to help you guys improve. So what we're going to be doing is reviewing these 10 tips that this pro made. He was a former professional player on Pain Gaming, so he's played live events and an insane online player. He's been playing over 6 years. You can see he titled this here. I know many people that play Clash Royale for years but don't see any improvement. As someone who's been a pro for 6 years and helped dozens of players to beat their personal best, I wrote down the 10 most useful tips that every Clash Royale player should know. If you guys are interested in working with this guy for coaching, I know he offers coaching at a pretty affordable price. I might as well shout that out because I am, using his tips for content on this video. But anyway, what I'm going to do is review them, and I'm going to add some stuff to them if maybe I feel like he missed something or if I disagree with something a little bit. But overall, these are very high quality tips that I think are pretty basic, that every Clash Royale player should know, and it's a nice refresher review, for those of you who might not know them. So starting off here, something pretty basic. He says having a solid deck doesn't mean you have to use what's in the meta or to copy a pro player's deck, but there is one thing you need to have in your deck in order to push a good amount of trophies, and that is having a win condition. And he's going to list a picture here that has these win conditions in it that are all really solid. So I completely agree with this for the most part. The only thing I will say though, the miner in the picture could be a little misleading. I don't think that that is a good win condition on its own. I do think that needs to be paired with a rocket, but everything else, very solid win condition. I would say the battle ram too would be good to have something else, just because if they have a building, it can be near impossible to get it to the tower. But all those other things are an incredible win condition and a good way of getting damage. And I see the mistake of a lot of players on mid ladder have, Mega Knight or something in their deck, and they think that that's a win condition. That is not a win condition. It's in fact a support card that you want to have with a Ramrodder. I'm just giving one example. There's many examples I could give, but Mega Knight is one of them because I know that's a very popular card at around 5,000, 6,000 trophies. So I just wanted to say that that is an example, and this is kind of what he's talking about when he says that. You want to make sure you have a card similar to these. Now, not necessarily one of these, but you need to have a win condition, and I promise you guys it'll help you a lot if you add one to your deck. So the next one here is a very useful one, actually. It's keeping track of rotation. So when you play a card, I'm just going to open the video here, you need to play 4 cards in order to get back to it. So he lists this already, but I'm going to say this right now too. It's different when your opponent has a champion down, because then they'll only need to play 3. But it's the same concept. So as you can see, after 4 cards are played, the original card was placed in hand. Now, I got a lot of comments how to keep track of cycle, and that's really all there is to it. It's just when your opponent plays 4 cards, they're back to the original card. Now, I really like that he included this. You see here, he says keep track of 2 to 3 cards of your opponent's spells and win conditions, and I really like that he included this detail here, because I will tell you right now, if you're beginning to count cards, cycle of cards, it's near impossible to do it for every card in the deck. The most important thing, and he said it here, spells, win conditions, I agree with that. Probably even more importantly, the win conditions. So let's say your opponent's using a Hog Cycle deck, right? When they play a Hog Rider, they need to play 4 cards to get back to it. They cannot change that unless a champion is down. But when a champion is down, it's 3 cards. It's still the same concept, and that is going to help you a ton. I can't stress that enough. Like, if you do not at all keep track of cycle, if you just incorporate that in your gameplay, you're probably going to win more games if you're paying attention to what they have in hand and they don't have in hand. But start small, right? Start with the win condition, start with the spells. By the way, there's a couple more tips I'm going to include at the end that are actually extra, not even what he said. So you guys are probably going to get a bonus tip or two. Alright, so this is number 3 now. We got another video, so let's go ahead and start it here. So, as you can see, what he's talking about in this video is notice how hiking backpack is taking damage right here instead of defending. He could have overcommitted, right? He could have gone in for a tornado on that RG. He could have panicked and spent more. But instead of doing that, he ends up saving elixir to build his push. And this is very important for Golem and Lava Hound decks. I feel like they don't know when to defend and when to attack sometimes, and that is a really important part of beatdown decks especially. I mean, cycle decks a little bit, but beatdown decks even more so. So you see here he wrote, most people think that the least amount of damage you take on the tower, the more success you have in the match. This could not be more wrong. And he says, then use your tower's HP as a resource that you can trade for elixir advantage or to save an important card for the next play. Every pro does it. And yeah, this is very true. I think that it depends on the situation sometimes, but I can't tell you how many times I see people over defending. And sometimes you just have to build that good Golem or Lava Hound push, and you only have one last opportunity to do that. So if it's double elixir, for example, right, and you just played a Lava Hound or Golem in the back, and they're going all out in the other lane, and you know there's no way you're going to be able to defend it without spending your whole elixir bar, and then you can't support the Golem or the Lava Hound after that at all, then it's just not worth it, because they can easily, pretty much almost always, regardless of the deck, they're always going to be able to defend a Golem or a Lava Hound by itself. So what he's basically saying here is you have to make sure you're getting support with it when you are going in for that Lava or Golem push. So again, some of these tips might be kind of basic for some people, but I know there's a ton of people who watch my videos who are newer to the game, and this could be pretty helpful to them. So you guys can kind of just pick and choose what tips are helpful. And this next one, I think, is anyone can learn from this one, even people who are pretty good, even people like me. This is the type of thing that I feel like I need to learn sometimes. You know, I haven't mastered all the matchups in the game. I am a pro player. I consider myself to be very good at the game, but there's always room to improve. Even the very best players in the game, like Mohamed Light, Lucas, are always every day learning how to play matchups better. And this is adapting your playstyle. So if you're always doing the same thing, the same way, your opponent is going to be able to predict you more. And, you know, if you're doing the same thing wrong over and over, what is that going to do? That's not going to change anything. So you see, adapt to your opponent's playstyle. If he's aggressive, you know, counter attack position. If he doesn't have a spell, stack up your troops, adapt. And obviously, I think there's not enough room for him to expand on this more, but essentially what he's saying is there's so many ways for you to change the outcome of the match just by playing different. And, you know, if you're constantly doing the same thing over and over, I can't tell you guys how many times I saw this, especially when playing on my mini accounts. I'm just trying to give an example of what I saw. There were so many times where I was able to predict my opponent, say, like a prediction log on their Skarmy, for example. There's a lot of people who use Skeleton Army at 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 trophies. Anyways, you get what I'm saying? So many people continue using it on defense, even though the opponent knows they're going to use it, and that results in like a prediction log, prediction arrows. So instead, let's say you have the Skeleton Army in cycle. Maybe instead of using the Skeleton Army, use something else. Perhaps you have, I don't know, let's say you have minions or something. Or even let's say you have a Dark Prince. Play that instead, because they might end up going for a prediction log, because you kept using the Skarmy over and over. So that way, even though you might have taken more damage if they ignore the Skarmy, you know they're likely not going to ignore it. So that's just one example, if you get the point I'm trying to make here. This next one is great as well. So many players, I think, fail to understand this, that troops are better to use than spells. And he says this right here. I'll read what he says. Spells give you instant solutions and damage on the tower, but they are not good on the long term. Having troops in the arena gives you more control of the match, so if possible, defend with troops for counter-attack purposes. Take control. Yeah, I like this. You know, I couldn't have said it better myself. This one, I don't even know if there's anything I'd change about it. I think it's completely true. For example, so I'm going to give you an example of this. Let's say your opponent plays Royal Hogs at the bridge. So you have a Fireball in cycle, right? So someone who might not understand the best way to defend might just immediately Fireball it. But let's say you have a Valkyrie in cycle, right? And let's even take it a step further. Say you have an Ice Spirit too, and maybe a Log. So instead of going for a fireball on top of the Royal Hogs, by the way, which don't even fully counter them, they'll still get a little bit chip damage, you could go for a Valkyrie and a Log, which would fully counter it. Yeah, you're spending 2 more elixir, but you're getting a Valkyrie on the board, right? Let's say you're using a Hog deck, a Mortar deck. You can send in the Hog with the Valkyrie. You can go for the Mortar with the Valkyrie, giving you a counter push. So even if you're spending a little more, it's better to use the troops if you're defending just as well, because think of the troop you just played as value. You might be spending more elixir when you go for that Valkyrie Log, right? It's 6 instead of 5. But it's the value that Valk is for, right? So you have to think of it. You have to think of these trades. You'll kind of learn it over time, but it's so much better, if possible, to have troops for the counter attack. Incredible, stuff, this tip. Very nicely said. And that's a very common one. Even I think some decent players will fireball Royal Hogs without thinking when it's perhaps better to just use something else. And there's other things too, but that was the first one that came to my mind. So I guess another one could be maybe a balloon. Let's say you rocket a balloon. Could you have perhaps maybe used, I don't know, something else? Like maybe you have a Musk or a Wizard. I don't know, but sometimes people panic and just do that, like rocket a balloon. So that's another one. I was just trying to think of a second one. Time is your friend. As I'm sure a lot of you guys already know, each Clash Royale match has 3 to 5 minutes of duration, but I see so many players that want to take a tower in the first 15-20 seconds of the match. Use time in your favor. Take the first 1 to 2 minutes to understand your opponent's deck and playstyle. Patience. Yeah, so here's some of the bonus stuff I'm going to throw into this. And no, this isn't cheating. This is completely allowed. You can't get banned for this, and you know that's true because why would I say this? I could get in trouble for it, but I won't. So it's allowed. Just a tip, if you don't know the deck your opponent's using, if you are playing on your phone, iPad, and you have a computer nearby you, and assuming your opponent's name is written in English or a language you can type, just go ahead and plop it in Royal API, try to find as quick as you can, and you'll have their whole deck. If you find their name on API, if it's a very common name, you might not be able to find it, or if it's another language, you could actually use... You could use this thing, it's like Google Image, where you like take a picture and then you go to it, but that's kind of taking a lot of time, so I don't know if you would want to go that far, but that's just another tip. If it's simple, if you're already near your computer and it's convenient, you could try to API them and get their deck. I know there's a lot of people who do that, so just a piece of advice if you want to consider, but along with that, with the 3 to 5 duration, I agree with that. Even if you're running a cycle deck, there's no need to rush things. It might be fine to go Hog, Mortar first play, whatever, Miner first play, but don't continue just attacking. We talked about this earlier, right, with the... Well, maybe we didn't, but you have to, even though with the heavier decks you sometimes have to ignore things and build a push, with cheaper decks you do want to be making sure you're defending properly, because cycle isn't all about attacking. Of course you're going to be able to pressure more. You have to defend though. You have to defend. So that's what he's getting at here with the patience. Probably this is more on the basic end, but something that's still a nice reminder, I guess. Leaking Elixir. Now, this is one I actually respectively disagree with a little bit. This is one of the biggest ones where I disagree with a bit. Oh, and there's one more later that I do a little bit as well. Now, he is right for the most part. So you can see here, Leaking Elixir. At the start of the match, it's pretty common to see many players, including pros, leaking Elixir and waiting to make the first move. And yes, that is true. At the start of the match, sometimes if you're running a heavier deck, both people wait. I mean, that's... right, if it's both people running Golem, both running Electro Giant, whatever, not that surprising. But after the match starts, you should never leak any amount of elixir, since it'll put you in a big disadvantage. So, I don't like the word never. I think, as a general rule of thumb, you shouldn't be leaking elixir, and I do see a lot of casual players leaking way too much elixir. I don't know if I've told you guys this. Well, I was actually considering doing a video with him, so I might have mentioned it, but my dad plays Clash Royale, and I see him leak way too much elixir because he's kind of like unsure of what to do or whatever. But let me tell you right now, you're way better off just playing something than leaking majority of the time, assuming you're like even with your opponent. Well, you got to be even or up if you're full on elixir. So just that's a nice actually tip right there. if you're at 10 elixir, you're either up elixir or even with your opponent. There's no other way around that. So just keep that in mind. And here's another tip, one of the bonus tips I was going to add. And no, this isn't cheating, it's in the game, so do it if you want. You can watch yourself on a second device if you want. It's actually a great way to learn how to keep track of elixir when you're learning how to do that, but this is a very easy way to tell if you're up elixir or down. Obviously, in double and triple elixir, when there's a lot going on, it's going to be hard to concentrate on the game and then keep checking the elixir, but in single elixir especially, which you can do a lot of punishing when you know you're up elixir, I would, honestly, if you want something that's going to help you a ton, and this is going to win you a lot more games, probably a large percentage more if you start doing this, like, spectate yourself for elixir, or be on call with people, and just have them tell you the elixir. It's not really cheating, it's in the game. I mean, I don't know if Supercell would be happy with me saying this, but what are they going to do? Ban me for saying something that's in the game that isn't even an exploit? Of course not. So yeah, do that if you want. I'll admit I used to do that, but then I got pretty good at keeping track of elixir. You just kind of like with the card cycle thing, you just have to kind of keep working on it. But I'll tell you right now, when you watch, even though you might think it's counterproductive learning it, you do kind of learn a little bit. You learn about the trades and stuff. So yeah, I mean, try that. Yeah. So here we go. This one's just kind of like, I don't know, this reaction time. Have quick fingers. In each Clash Royale match, you need to make a lot of quick decisions, obviously, especially in triple elixir. Jeez. Your mind can work 10 times speed, but if your fingers are not in the same place, you're screwed. Always have your fingers close to the screen and practice recycled X to improve speed. Alright, I don't know about this whole fingers close to the screen. By the way, it doesn't matter if you use a phone or an iPad. Use what you're comfortable with. Yeah, I would say of all that, I mean, probably using cycle decks to improve your speed. I would agree with that. I think probably, yeah, I think playing some will help you, but it might not be necessary. So I agree a little bit, disagree a little bit. I think it just depends on the kind of player you are. If you want to be more versatile, then you definitely should run some cycle decks if you've only ran Beatdown. So if you're ever interested in getting competitive or you want to play more than one deck, then definitely I would say run some cycles. So yeah, I guess that is a pretty good tip overall. Eliminate distractions. Alright, yeah, this is the other one that I disagree with a little bit. On one specific thing. So I think overall eliminating distractions, like let's say you're in a noisy house or something, like maybe putting your headphones on with the game sound would be a good solution. Obviously playing in places like work or school where there's stuff going on and you're playing when you're not even supposed to, you're not going to be able to focus as well. So yeah, I mean, this is something that's kind of obvious, but if you want to take your game to the next level, then it's a pretty good tip overall. And turning off your emotes, yeah, that's why I do that. When I record videos, I usually have them on, but I usually prefer to have them off. So yeah, that's a great tip right there. I just think the emotes, if you're playing for fun and you like having them on, sure, have them on. But if you want to win and focus, have them off. No point. And music, this is where I disagree with. I like listening to music when I play. So if you like listening to music and you feel like it helps you concentrate, then by all means do it. I don't necessarily agree with that because I know there's a lot of other pro players who like listening to music, especially if it's like a last day of the season and you're grinding like several hours to get a good finish. You know, you got to be able to like relax, and it helps you keep a good mindset, right? I think if you're just, I don't know. I kind of disagree with that. But phone notifications, obviously, you don't want to get a phone call. I have do not disturb on, usually, pretty much always. And last one, and this might even be the best one out of all of them, best for last, then this is honestly true. This is kind of a mindset type of thing. Pros are not special. Every single pro had to take his time and go through a long process of, by the way, his first language is Portuguese, so he meant to say trial and error probably, but overall pretty good. He wrote pretty well considering English isn't his first language. But yeah, he speaks Portuguese and English. Anyway, not even important, but use it as motivation and learn from them. If you improve 1% each day, you'll be 10 times better than you are right now, sooner than you think. I trust you. I really like this one. It's, you know, it really shows that pros are not, you know, gods. They're not really superhuman, and all of them started somewhere. It's kind of the same with anything in life, sports, I don't know, what else? School, you know, you know, everyone starts somewhere, or like at the gym, right? Like working out, like you know, y'all start somewhere. And I think all of you watching this video, you're all trying to do the same thing at the end of the day. Just improve, try to get better at the game. And this is a great point. You know, like pros, me, when I first started playing, I wasn't that good. I only knew how to play one deck. I couldn't play anything else, and I never thought I would get to the point I am now. And what I think a lot of it is kind of like how he said he's played the game 6 years. I've played the game like 6 years as well. And what happens is you just, the more you play, if you keep a good mindset, keep trying to improve, adapt, right? All those things, these tips, and then others included, if you get the point I'm making, you're slowly but surely going to get better. And I don't think everyone, here's what I think. I think almost everyone has the potential of finishing top 100 on ladder. I've talked about this before. Of course, I think everyone has like a kind of a limit, like a ceiling, you know? Like not everyone can be as good as Muhammad Light, but everyone can be better than they are right now. Everyone can be better than they are right now. I don't care how good you are at the game. I don't care how bad you are at the game and you think there's no way you're going to get better. You can. You can always get better if you get what I'm saying, but not everyone can be as good as Muhammad Light. But you can learn stuff every day, whether it's matchups, just how to, you know, play more decks, how to keep track of Elixir, how to keep track of Cycle, mindset, so on and so forth. So these are the 10 tips, kind of a summary here. If you guys did enjoy this video, it was a little different, please let me know because I can do something like this again. I was even thinking of doing things where I review kind of like YouTubers videos, like Clash YouTubers, where if they say it's a really good deck, kind of break it down and be like, are they lying or is it actually good? Or I don't, like, not that necessarily, but other type of things. Like, I was thinking I react to other Clash YouTubers. So this was, like, different. It's not a YouTuber, it's someone on Twitter, like a pro. But if you like this style, please let me know in the comments. I figured, like, why not try something new out? And, yeah. So make sure to like the video if you guys did end up enjoying it. Subscribe if you guys are not subscribed already. And I hope this helped. Thanks again. Until next time, guys.